Welcome to An Epic World brought to you by Quadrian. I'm your host, Courtney Fingar, and this is our interview series that highlights innovators, thought leaders, and trailblazers driving transformational innovation in industries and economies worldwide. Quadrian is focused on inspiring epic growth by leveraging the combined forces of venture capital, foreign direct investment, and special economic zones. Today, I'm delighted to welcome a guest who's a leader in that third pillar of special economic zones. So, welcome to Julio Rodriguez, Executive Director of the Association of Free Zones of the Americas, or AVSA. It's great to have you here, Julio.
Thanks, Courtney. Thanks for the invitation. I'm glad to be here, especially with you, a super special host.
Thank you very much. So, we've seen you recently. We've encountered you on the conference circuit. First of all, with your organization's annual conference in Curacao in November, more recently at the Andy Association for Colombian Economic Zones. Also, saw you in Paris at the OECD. So, I will ask you in a minute about what you're hearing on your global travels and how free zones are reacting to some of the tumultuous global events. But first, let's just kind of take a step back. And for those who are not aware of AFSFA, tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, Courtney, ASFA is the Association of Free Trade Zones of the Americas. We have more than 20 years of experience, and we gather more than 20 countries in the region, meaning that South America, Central America, Caribbean, and Spain. And right now we have more than 80, roughly 84 members, uh, comprising free trade zones, uh, public or government entities, so obviously directly related to free trade zones. We have providers and we have consultants, and it's a whole ecosystems of people surrounding the free trade zones regime.
Great. And what is it like right now for free zones? I mean, they're very important to national economies, but also global. But of course, they're really built around trade, and in particular, free trade, which feels a little bit under threat right now. What's the impact like, and how are your members reacting?
Oof, Corny, that's a tough one, and it's quite difficult to answer this, especially because it's not the same the impact, let's say, in Uruguay than in Colombia or the countries for Central America or the Caribbean. So it depends. Uh, it's tough. Everybody is trying to be. First of all, it's hard to be updated, so that's probably my first advice. Stay alert, stay updated if you can, because as you probably know, uh, you have a first announcement like 3 weeks ago, a second announcement 2 weeks ago. And when we were all ready for this new scenario, let's wait for, let's say, 90 days, and it's difficult for our free zones to navigate into this current situation, uh, but I think it's also a huge opportunity for our free zones, because we have to be like in this mode of designing a friend shoring strategy, because we're a very, very special ecosystem where you have innovation there, when you have sustainability, when you have a lot of companies within a park. So I truly believe that's we have to grab the momentum and build on this friend shoring strategy. Let's do it. In Spanish, we say sin prisa pero sin pausa. If you want to translate that, should be something like without haste but with soul. So it's we're navigating uncertain moments, but I'm truly convinced that we can build on this specific momentum.
Great. And I think stay alert is very good advice to the extent that we can, with all the sand shifting by the minute. How important do you feel is diversification right now? Diversification of trade partners, but also of sectors and sources of investment.
Yeah, for me, that's also a tough one because diversification, it's a sounding concept, especially nowadays. But and everybody is talking about it, diversification, new markets, whatsoever. Although it is true that diversification, it's a reasonable and a good concept as a concept. It's also true, and I have it has to be noted that it's not always easy and it's not always possible. Sometimes because of your product, because of your market, and the logistics and services associated to your products and markets, it's almost impossible just to create a new market. Let's say you have exports for flowers exports from South America or Central America to the States. To try to try to change that specific market is tough because of the logistics, because of the specifics of your markets. So yeah, I think it's important. I think it's really necessary nowadays, but take it with a grain of salt, because it's not always possible.
Well, that's true. And it's definitely not possible really to pivot at a moment's notice with these are long-term relationships, supplier customer bases. And I suppose just as much as diversification can be just a kind of almost a catchphrase, a cliche, something that everyone aspires to, but not easy to do. Innovation is the same. And you mentioned innovation earlier. So I'd love to ask you, what does innovation mean to you as it applies to free zones? And do you think that free zones are where they should be in terms of facilitating, cultivating innovation?
No, innovation for me, it's a wide concept. We tend to think that innovation is just a super advanced technology and this AI and whatsoever. And innovation, it's more than that. It's about bringing new ideas, new processes, new methods or solutions to your specific business. So sometimes innovation is just how can I improve this specific process, and that's it. So innovation now, it's probably a pillar for our free trade zones. And when we talk about innovation, we're talking about innovation in sustainability, innovation in trading, innovation in security, innovation in know your client. It's a super wide concept, and I truly believe it's necessary now more than ever. And innovation is, let's say, it's not just a recommendation from just to navigate this. I don't like the word crisis, let's say this current situation, but it is a must. Is a must. Uh, for me, innovation is a key element for at least three concepts. Understand this complex scenario we're living now. Understand how your markets react and how you're gonna react facing this situation. And finally, to understand your clients needs and meet that needs. So you need innovation for the entrance of your free trade zone, the security of your free trade zone, and how you navigate this new complex world.
Mhm. Yes, definitely. And in terms of navigating that world, how are you supporting your members through that? And what are your priorities right now as the head of the organization?
Okay, Courtney. So we work through special committees. We have within ASFA, we have a sustainability committee, innovation committee, promotion committee, and legal committee. and those committees give me like the main guidelines for the organization. So right now, and probably one of the most important jobs I have now, it's working really, really closely to multilateral and international organizations uh, to help the world better understand the free trade zone regime, because sometimes it's difficult when you talk about free zones, special economic zones, free trade zones whatsoever. People tend to think like, okay, it's a duty free or something like that, and we're trying to build on this concept and to help to better understand the concept of free trade zones and the free trade zone regime around the world. And obviously, we're working with all these institutions, trying to create the conditions for more transparent, more sustainable, and more innovative free trade zones around the world, and especially here in the Americas.
And when you talk about sustainability, what does that mean for you? Do you mean environmental sustainability or just more broad use of the term?
No, no, it's a broad use of the term because it's true. When you say sustainability, you think about environment and how to save water or how to save energy or clean energy. But let's say we're talking about the global development goals, SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and it comprise of obviously environmental matters, but also good governance, you know, to have an appropriate corporate governance within the free zones, equality, diversification, inclusion. I don't know. I know it's not too popular to talk about these days. Diversification, equality, and inclusion. But it's also important because free zones, especially here in the Americas, are special points for development. And if you don't have an inclusive development, it's very difficult, to be perceived as a good thing within the economy. So when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about the broad concept.
Well said about the importance of the zones in economic development. And I guess a lot of what you're talking about before is advocacy for free zones themselves and why they matter. Do you think they're more essential now in this current global economic environment, or are they more at risk of being misunderstood or exploited?
No, for sure, we're more important than ever, probably, because as you know, free zones or free trade zones are hubs of international trade. And sometimes when you are out of a free trade zone, you can navigate the complexity of the international trade. But when you are within ecosystem that it is specialized, in international trade, you have all the facilities, you have all the experts within the zone. So nowadays, for me, being in or within a free zone, it's essential. You must be there.
Excellent. Before we wrap up, just tell us a little bit about what's next for you and for AFSFA, what's coming up. I know, for example, Uruguay will host your next annual conference. What else is in the works for the remainder of this year?
Okay, so we this is a special year because we already plan a lot of activities and we already changed that activities. We were supposed to have a commercial mission in Texas. We're gonna move the date. It was in principle for May this year. We're gonna move the date because of the uncertainty. We're gonna have probably within the next 90 days, and you probably will guess why in the next 90 days we're going to have a webinar of regarding this new complex world of tariffs, and international trade. We're going to have Uruguay in November, our annual meeting, where we gather all our members. We have a special academic agenda there. we hope to see you there, Carney. Obviously, we're gonna have also the World Free Zone Organization meeting in October in China. We have lots of activities, but it's fair to say that I'm not gonna say specific dates because specifically this year we need to move some dates because of this environment.
Well, yes, flexibility is the name of the game this year. Julio, thank you so much for taking time to join us, and we look forward, of course, to following all your activities and keeping in touch with AFSA as we carry on in these interesting times.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me here in your podcast, Carney. Hope to see you in November in Uruguay. 2026 is gonna be in a beautiful Cadiz in Spain.
Thank you so much, Julio.
Thank you, Carney. Bye bye.